Well, morning, folks. It's 2:41 in the morning, West Coast time. It's 31st of March, 2024, for Sunday. How we look at today is it's questionable. More likely, how do we question ourselves and how do we look at ourselves? I've been trying to figure this one out when I saw one video regarding this day to be Trans Acceptance Day, coinciding with a religious holiday because of the calendar shifting, and it's coming up as Easter. The hardest thing to accept is on 2 days collapse in conjunction with each other. How are we accepting this conjunction is more likely how we're going to be approaching Christ. For us Christians, that is. Because a lot of fear, a lot of misconfusion, misconceptions, problems with accepting, at least acknowledging. And we have to look at it. We have to, because sometimes there's almost no choice about it. What would Christ think of our modern day? Even I'm conflicted. There should not be any confliction when it comes down for Christianity, and yet, how would Christ look at us? What we're doing to each other, not to mention ourselves, for not acknowledging, accepting that there are different things that may be going against what we've been taught all our lives. Bewilderment and amazement and shame would be it. The stigmas that I was growing up under. The stigmas I was growing up as a kid. I never came across the LGBTQ community. I never had. It was only until I got into my adulthood that I was made aware of it. And heard about the terminology. I heard people making fun of other people who are quote unquote different. And I had never met them. But if I had, I wasn't aware. I would accept them one way, but was I really mature back then, up to this point, my age, am I still willing to accept? And it's a thing to realize. This is Sunday morning. This is one of those days that we're supposed to be celebrating things. We're supposed to be waking up in the morning, and it's Sunday morning, and we're supposed to be dealing with what's going on. We're supposed to be looking at things in a different light. We're supposed to be doing something about it, I guess. How do we reconcile? A friend of mine was talking about the community. This is Trans Acceptance Day. There was a set up, I think, about early 2000. And they're supposed to be accepting people who are biologically and mentally different than what was being presented to people. It scared the hell out of me because I wasn't quite sure if I'm still ready to accept it or not, but I'm still have to grow into it. I have to understand that there are a lot more different things than our structured mind is supposed to be accepting right now, and that's hard because I feel like part of me has been running away from the topic and not even realizing why. I come across people who became friends and became good people to hang around with and people that mattered in my life. And if one was following the Spirit of God, then there should not have been a rejection of it. Acknowledgement, yeah, and then to accept the people as they are and what they presented. A guy named Mike Flowers a long time ago. My brother met this wonderful man, this wonderful gentleman. He liked hanging around people. He liked having a good time. He was also a Trekkie. He was also a Star Trek fan. Trek fans are supposed to have been accepting of each other because of the concept of what the show and what the themes were supposed to be. Accepting people, individual. Let's see, what was it? IDIC, individual, infinite diversity in infinite combinations. Meaning there are different things outside our normality, outside our normal box, that an alien race, fictional as it is, but representative. Well, we couldn't deal with that one, could we? I couldn't deal with that one. There was a friend of mine. Hold on. Hold on. 1 second. Sorry about that. I'm ranting and raving without even realizing I had the thing going on, but I had to get my thoughts clear enough on this one. I was going to be coming around and talking about a boy that was trying to hide himself as a boy, but different on the inside. And people couldn't accept it. Even when he did change, some people still had an acceptance problem on this one. I was following this cult religion of sorts, Star Trek, or an alien race inside the science fiction stuff called Vulcans, and they would accept things as an individual because they were supposed to be that enlightened. They had a philosophy, infinite diversity and infinite combination. And the problem is with that, it's not all of us are accepting it because of our own religious upbringing or moral upbringing or upbringing, period. I kept trying to ask myself a lot of things. We're so damn screwed up in the head. We don't accept things. We don't acknowledge things are different and move on with that. We have to be judgmental and condemning everything. We look at the religious uh, doctrinations we had in there, trying to put us into one particular theology or mental state. We're supposed to be worshiping a God that loves life and loves humanity and loves everything else. But the problem is we can't be accepting of it because there's something about it. There's stories conflicting with each other, saying this don't like differences. God doesn't like differences. God likes differences. He doesn't like differences. Tower of Babel was the one that confused the crap out of me in the Old Testament because mankind built this huge edifice to reach the heavens. Now, granted, it's a hell of a lot of construction, I'll tell you that much. Engineering feats. But it being struck down and people became tongue tied or language deficient or secular in their language. There's a problem with that. There have been problems and issues in the Bible saying that we like God loves differences, but we can't stand the differences. Why? There had to be something in our spiritual genetic makeup. God was creating us out of probably the energies of the universe or even beyond that to create life as it is. And somewhere in the genetics, there had to have been a marker in there telling us that either we're going to be accepting or not accepting. And if we're not accepting it, then how can we accept God and God accept us for being different? He made us different. Okay. He gave us free choice. He gave us free will on this one. Try to discover who and what we are. But why was there such a disgust in the situation in us? We can't accept anything. We have to be distrustful of it because we don't know how to accept it. We don't know how to believe in it. We don't even know how to acknowledge, accept, or anything else with it. The universe is vast. The universe is different. The universe is on many levels that we can't even understand. But we can't accept ourselves. We can't accept ourselves as different. We have to accept everything else in a box because it's comfortable that way. And anything beyond the box, we're going after each other left and right because you can't be this way. You have to think this way. Otherwise, you are a contaminant. You're a deviant. You're this outside of this. And therefore, we got to make it politically expedient how to torment everybody else. You know how hard it was trying to grow up in a society of thinking about people who are different? I heard about it, thought about it. I was being indoctrinated into the science fiction realm of open-mindedness. God, what a scary concept. Did God invent it? Or did the human beings actually stumbled upon it by accident? The authors would write stuff out, left and right in books and media and stuff. And we would have to pick up on it and decide whether or not we actually understood the damn thing or not. Because if we did, man, we'd be so damn unforgiving with each other, like we are today. A holiday like Easter, A holiday like Easter is coming up to where we're supposed to be accepting that there's life after death. Well, I know there's life after death. It scares the hell out of me, but it's life after death. And as a kid, 4 years old, open heart surgery, I didn't have to be indoctrinated in religion. I didn't have to be indoctrinated in spirituality. I got into the field. Well, my spiritual essence, my energy source, my own life, my own self, you know, went out and wanted to go back upstairs to where I was created. And no, I was supposed to stay down here. 3 times up, 3 times back. So yeah, it leaves a little bit of resentment at this point over here to a father or to an entity that was trying to save my ass, and I was looking at it as such. Got even worse is when I'm growing up and seeing the differences left and right around me. I mean, yeah, God loves differences, but the problem is, what was it with human beings who couldn't even accept that particular notion in the first place? We're so damn scared and so damn afraid of the damn shit. Now, biologically speaking, they checked me out. I'm a male. I like women. I just hadn't been comfortable enough. I treat them as individuals and unique. I hadn't put myself in a situation where men and women were supposed to. And I had friends growing up, from a young adulthood to an old fart, that there was a lot more to life and more to the acceptance and more outside the box than I realized. A friend who was struggling with his, her, their identity all throughout growing up periods through life, through military and then out of the military. Always having a problem trying to have people accept him for who and what he was, and he was still trying to decide what that was. And then years later, social media comes up. I thought I was finding him, and I was finding there. And he had changed into a she. I couldn't accept it a long time ago. I couldn't. I was stuck in the past. I was stuck in the box. I was stuck on something that this being in front of me was still the same being, but cocooned, growing up. And now, a butterfly? But this butterfly I couldn't deal with. I couldn't deal with it because I couldn't even deal with the concept of itself. And I'm supposed to be open-minded because science fiction had taught me that one, and religion was supposed to taught me that one. But problem is, religion taught me to be hatred, not accepting. And here's the other thing concerning about the religious holiday we got for Easter. Easter was supposed to have been the spiritual awakening day. This is supposed to be a day that we're supposed to be accepting the knowledge that there is life after death. I already got that one already. Scared the hell out of me. But I think what would drive Jesus crazy these days is how we're looking at things politically and every other which way, but not the way it should have been in the first place. Not just the concept that we're going to be risen up to another energy level state. Shit, we could discover that all on our own. It's if we're bringing up our morality and our own thought patterns and everything else that we've been raised and taught with. How would the universe be dealing with us on that level? Unless we're trying to avoid that at all costs. We want to be totally inclusive, but we're not. Differences are hard for us because they're outside the box. How does Christ deal with this one? Because there had to be more to it. There had to be more concepts, there had to be more ideas and idealisms. There had to be more than what we understood and realized. Had to have been. Easter was not just resurrection. The death of Christ had to have been death of something of the box. We are all created different. We are all created individuals. And yes, we have a lot of sexualities out there, a lot of identities. And some of them we are so far ignorant and arrogant and indifferent to it and intolerant to it that we can't see that either. Was it a coincidence that this day was Trans Acceptance Day is falling under Easter? Was there a coincidence or was there a cosmic message being sent out to us on this one? We want to believe in God and God believe in us, and we want to be right with Him, but the problem is with the teachings we've got right now, we can't even get past the damn thing. Were the teachings correct? Could they have been adapted? Could it have been modified? With our steadfast dogma, no. Because now we look at the universe in a tinier portion. We look at ourselves with a tinier with a tinier telescope, with a finite that we can't see the broad scopes, broad vision difference. No, we had to focus. We had to narrowly focus. And sometimes I think religion does that to us. We want to believe in something greater than ourselves, but we are so damn focused. We want to be so faithful and absolute with this. But how can I be absolute with God? How can I be absolute with my religion, with Jesus, with my faith in Him? I can't even be with humanity that God created. I would always have to question, God, why the differences? If you hated differences that badly, why wasn't everything uniform? Fear. Anything not accepted outside the box. If we were created so damn different in our own biological, but also in our own spiritual genetics, what is it that scared us about the differences? In the story of the Tower of Babel, we're building up a huge edifice, and yet God strikes it down for one reason or another. Did He actually give us fair warning telling us, man, you shall not do this because of whatever reason? And we would have accepted. But somehow, if I got the story wrong somewhere in the Old Testament, God struck it down, and we became dumb and numb and tongue-tied, and we became different languages being spoken. Or we also changed to the inside at that point? Was it our understanding? Or were we also that closed-minded that we couldn't accept anybody else for that matter? I never quite figured out the damn story. Jesus comes down to earth in the New Testament because God wants to understand something about humanity. I mean, hell, he tried to wipe out humanity's mistakes left and right according to our human understanding. But Jesus would come down and try to tell us about how to be loving and acceptance of each other. We couldn't do that. We couldn't do that then. We can't even do that now. There are people freaking out because Trans Acceptance Day, is falling under Easter. We're becoming so religious dogma right now, accepting under one particular thought pattern. We can't even think outside the damn box. If God made us so damn different, we can't even think about that one. Unless you're a Christian, and you're nothing. This is an insult for everybody else to thinking about their own religious viewpoints are supposed to be different. Every time I kept saying about that viewpoint, or everybody else looking at the same thing, different viewpoints. Except now we're saying that everyone else's viewpoint is screwed up because we're the better. So now we got to make it into political crap. We got to make it into political bullshit for Easter. How dare you sully Christian theology and Christian thinking? How dare you do that? You're going against Christ. How dare you? If I could face Christ right now, I would probably tell him, look, I've also got every damn inadequacy of man, including his ideology of not liking differences. Because there were certain aspects of my life growing up that scared the crap out of me. I first came across the LGBTQ community, and it scared me. It was a shock to my experience. But during that time, I was also reminded that I came across that community, that kind of thinking, in the form of one particular man in a program that had life in him. Mike Flowers. Last name was Flowers. My brother met this man, and they became friends. Not lovers, not anything of that nature, but friends. Human companionship needed. As in one guy looking for a best friend or someone to talk to about certain things. My brother wasn't crossing other boundaries over here. Program was one thing, life experience is another thing. And the other guy knew it. Mike knew it. I met him right after a meeting, and we hit it off. We had this connection concerning about science fiction. He loved science fiction. He loved Star Trek because Star Trek was supposed to have been open-minded. He liked Vulcans, infinite diversity and infinite combinations. The hardest damn thing for us to understand. But we had a good time watching Star Trek 4, The Voyage Home, at a Pacific theater well before the 94 earthquake tore the damn mall apart. Sherman Oaks Galleria, God rest its soul. We had a ball watching this thing. We were laughing, crying, shouting. And for a brief moment of time, I considered him a friend. He loved dancing. There was one or two dances my brother and I went over to, and we saw him dance. We saw him take life, what it was, and enjoy it. And then I discovered that he was brutally murdered. I don't know who, but I know the why. They couldn't tolerate him. Closed box, ugly thinking. They wanted to enclose him in a box permanently. And they did. And I didn't know how to reconcile that for a long while. I think I learned about him more through a cultural misunderstanding. Because around that time period when I was going to college, my misspent youth, I also came across Star Trek fans who actually were off the grid, so to speak. And I didn't know how to deal with them because I never experienced it before. And yeah, it did scare the hell out of me because I had no context, no perspective. Just here's the differences. It's like, whoa, how am I supposed to deal with this one? And I think I destroyed the club at that point. But as soon as I gained more awareness of what happened and what I did, I had to make amends. I had to apologize for that one. Because I also discovered that there were people out there who actually cared about what others thought and were very, very careful about how they revealed themselves. And once I got that bit of understanding back then, I was starting to understand a little bit about the community. And I tell you, living back into a closed box again, after losing contact of such people, it's no wonder sometimes I couldn't accept this particular friend who I grew up with in school. I couldn't understand why he chose what he did, but he chose to change into a she. And for a long while I had a hard time trying to accept that. If Christ was trying to talk about differences in our lives, we weren't paying attention. Closed-minded we were, because of the Old Testament was scary. It was scary. Anger, vengeance, intolerance, indifference, ignorance. How the hell we're supposed to be living up to that point when Christ was supposed to be teaching us there was a better way than that? I mean, he was there to uphold the laws and traditions, but the laws and traditions were keep putting people in a box, mentally and physically and spiritually. How could we understand God's understanding of everything? Was he the creation of it? Was he creating it? There was a lot of things that we don't understand. We don't want to understand because it's beyond our own understanding. But we can see the results of it on a constant basis. We see it walking around in front of us. We see it in the life forms around us. Flora and fauna, the scientific terminology for plant life and animal life. We see it in the chaotic nature of our skies. But we also see it through the telescopes of the universe. It puts me into a perspective of trying to figure out the holiday that we've got, that mankind's put up for just resurrection. Easter to me is not just resurrection. It's understanding. Understanding the nature around us. See, as I said before, when I grew up, 4 years old, I had open heart surgery. I wasn't even indoctrinated. The only thing I knew about is how to hate the medical industry that was still trying to save my ass one way or another. But because of the pain involved in the process, that was the thing I really resented the living crap out of them. They didn't know what the hell was going on, I thought, and using me for a dartboard, uh, pen cushion, lab rat. It's no wonder I had an intolerance and indifference and impatience, and not to mention high blood pressure from these guys. They're trying to save my ass. And I said, screw them. Maybe I became a one-man war against my own mortality, my own health. These guys were trying to save. They were trained to do so, but I didn't give them that benefit of the doubt. No way in hell. I still delay because I've still got this stigma going on inside of me. I'm still trying to fight sometimes. Every time it gets closer to an appointment day, I freak out like crazy. I always had to keep pushing it back because I don't want to know. I want to know, but I don't want to know. Contradiction, isn't it? So, contradiction out of fear and indifference and intolerance. Something trying to save my ass, and yet still scares the hell out of me. Even death scares the hell out of me. Spirituality scares the hell out of me. Because this wonderful energy out there trying to educate me at this point, I'm like, no, I can't deal with it. It's outside my box. It's outside my understanding. I'm supposed to accept and acknowledge this, or actually acknowledge it, then accept it? You got to be kidding me. So we got a holiday system here of Easter. And the holiday Easter is supposed to be of the Judeo-Christian situation here. Of the Jewish faith, they're not supposed to believe in resurrection. But the Christianity, because of the lessons we were being taught by Christ, theoretically, you're supposed to be accepting that there's life after death. Okay, fine. But we can't even deal with the life here and accept it as it is because we're intolerant to everybody. It's like, how many times or how many people are going to be clamoring to talk to God about this one? Why'd you screw this one up, boss? What the hell was it that we didn't get? How come we weren't supposed to get it? Or if we were getting it, how come we were so damn afraid of it? There's no reason in our mortality here that we can try getting past our damn fears and ignorance and intolerance at this point. It's bad enough when you got people spewing and living on the damn shit and want the other malignancies to be spread about like a cancer. We have to hold this one as it is because if we acknowledge it to what the differences are, we can't do that. No, 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 no. This is intolerable. We can't think this way. We can't feel this way. You can't do this to us. No, 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 no. This is a religious holiday. You can't do this. You can't talk about acceptance. You can't talk about differences being tolerated. You can't do that. This is just basically for one holiday. You can't do that. Yeah, we can because by a calendar, we've got Easter and we got Trans Acceptance Day on the same damn thing. We did anticipate it, but it happened. Now we got to deal with it. It's not just accepting trans, it's accepting differences and acknowledging it. I've got that screwed up, don't I? We're supposed to acknowledge it and then accept it. Yeah, I know. Screwed up, isn't it? But this is how it is right now. So, for the Judeo-Christian, I would say Happy Easter, Happy Passover. Well, because of the calendar screw up, that's coming up. And Happy Trans Acceptance Day. We still got a long road to walk on. And we have to get through every damn bump, every damn curve, every damn lump on the ground. We're going to feel it in our shoes, in our moccasins. Sorry, guys. But we have to deal with it. We have to acknowledge it. And we keep walking through it. That's my take for today. What's yours?